with CPU, right? There is a lot of lines you have to write. But then we needed something abstract, because now in this age, when there is machine learning and AI, we don't want to still write those code like A plus B, and we don't want to optimize it. We have that piece of code in C language. And what we have done is we have used that code and made an abstract out of it, made a C wrapper on top of it, right? So Python is nothing but wrapper of C language, and that's why it's high level language, because it is user friendly more than machine friendly in a way. You'll understand that better in upcoming sessions, but that's what high level languages mean, that a user can or a developer friendly language instead of kind of machine friendly. Now the second thing is it is used in almost all fields except maybe gaming. So web development, data science, AI, automation, in all of these fields nowadays, Python is used. Like in web development, there are only two languages for backend, I think Java and Python. For data science, AI, and for data science and AI, Python is like a monopoly there. Before data science and AI, there were statisticians which use language known as R. But the issue with R language is that you cannot do all the other things like web development and automation using R. It's very difficult to do it. So statisticians needed a language so that they can apply their mathematics and statistics in AI and ML, whereas they don't want to learn languages like C, C++, because there is no need to do that, right? They can do their statistics in our language. So Python is like a bridge in between academia and the industry people, right? By industry, I mean the coders who used to use languages like C, C++. So Python fills that gap, and that's why nowadays everyone is using Python for data science and AI. Now, one more thing, Python is actually older than Java language. So it's not that Python just is a bubble now and it will go away, right? Python had a very slow and incremental rise, and it is continuing to do that. And now, because of data science and AI, which is I think near 2010 or something, after that, Python language actually skyrocketed. So uh, that's why it is used everywhere. And the third thing, why Python was built in first place, we had C language before Python. Why we needed Python, right? So we needed Python because the developer wanted to design something which is very readable and simple. That was the main goal, the design perspective of Python. Because in C language, you have to write a lot of lines and a lot of flower brackets, right? It is like you have 10 flower brackets in your code and all. But in Python, you don't have any of those. You just use colon symbol and you are good. And you use some white space. Now that's a kind of like an overview or an introduction of Python, why we need it and why was it created in the first place. Now, what can we do in Python? So we can automate tasks as mentioned in previous slide. What does automate really mean, right? So in automate, what you can do is whatever repetitive tasks that you have in your day, like sending an email or scrap websites. If you want to get data that is available on website, let's say yahoo.com, if something is available, you can scrap it and you can do your study on top of it. Renaming files, which is very common thing to do. You can rename a file, but you can also do these things using Python. Now, the second thing is you can create web applications using Python. Nowadays, you can also build games. Of course, these will not be games, optimized games, because for them, people still use languages like C++, C sharp. But for web development or for graphical user interface, where you are just creating a small app to show users what you are creating, you can use Python for that. The third thing, which is most powerful, is AI ML. You cannot learn AI ML without Python. It's just not possible nowadays because of the libraries that are built around AI ML in Python. Now, the last thing, which is IoT project. So all of these projects can be done using libraries of Python. And there are many more things that you can do. What are libraries? We will study. Libraries are basically files which have Python code written in it. And you don't have to write all of that code again. You can just use it by writing one line of code. And you can just use that material and do your job. So these are things that can be done in Python, and these are things everyone use Python for. Now, why Python? So again, because the main purpose was that design, the simplicity should be there, and that's why it's very easy to learn, read, and write. Again, reading and writing is also important, because if you have written a code and you want to read it again, let's say 6 months later, then it should be neat and clean and have less number of lines. That makes it very faster for you to read it again after a few months. Now, it fits everywhere. We have seen it, be it web, AI, or data. It fits in all those areas, and it has huge ecosystem. We have more than I'm not sure about current number, but it had more than 340,000 libraries. That means people have built a lot of projects in Python, and that makes this learning process very easy, because whatever you are trying to do, people might have tried doing it, and whatever errors or whatever bugs they had resolved it, and you can directly get solutions from them. So even if you are trying to build something unique, still, if you face any problem, there's a huge community that will help you debug your code. And it works on all platforms. Again, that's the advantage of learning a high level language. Because if you go back to assembly language, it does not, basically, if your CPU architecture change, your programming language also change. And that is something we don't want to happen. So and that's why actually C language was originated. But now we are using Python so that it also works on all the platforms. You can also run Python on Jupyter Notebook style, which is just cloud based. We will look into that in our upcoming sessions. Now, libraries for everything. That's the main point. And that's something that makes high level languages super efficient. Why are we not using or learning low level languages like C in nowadays? Like, because C is super fast compared to Python, then why are we not learning C? That question rises. But the thing is, nowadays we have libraries. So if you are not a very advanced C programmer, your C code will be slower than Python programmer because of these libraries. You are not going to write your code from scratch. You are going to use libraries built by Google developers, Facebook developers, and just implement your code and meet your deadlines, right? So that's the purpose of Python. Now, some things are good to know. So if anyone have any doubts so far, let me know. Like, you can raise your hand, you can ask any question so far. Yeah.
Please, the C language that you have mentioned, uh, what is it? Is it like C++?
Yeah, actually, C language came before C++. So C language, uh, you can think of it like C++ without object-oriented programming. And there are some more things, but yeah, the major difference between C and C++ is their object-oriented programming. Yeah, that's like a major difference. But yeah, C, C++, both languages are a kind of low-level language compared to Python. Yeah. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. So Python is a interpreted language. What does that mean? That means that whatever code you write, it will read its first line and it will execute line by line. What's the other way of executing a code? The other way is compiler based, where your whole code will be first optimized and then executed in one go. But the issue with that is that what if you don't know what to write next? What if you would like to see and visualize things before executing the next line? So there are a lot of side effects of both of them, and Python chose to be an interpreted language, so it executes code line by line. I hope that makes sense. Now, so as a homework, you can also try to think about interpreted and compiler-based languages and what's the difference in between them. You can feel free to go in depth in that. And The second thing is dynamic typing. So you don't have to mention that whenever you say a equal to 10, even in mathematics, you just write a equal to 10. That's it. You don't define its data type beforehand, right? And that is what is dynamically typed. Like just say equal to 10 instead of saying, okay, a is a storage where you can only put integers. And then in the next line, you will say, okay, a equal to 10. But if you write something like a equal to false, it will give you an error saying that it's not an integer because that box can only store an integer. So that is something that Python don't have. Python, you can just declare a variable. You can just say a equal to Tom, a equal to 10. It's fine. Okay. That again is a design choice. So these all are design choice that Python took to make it more simpler and more readable. Now, the third thing is white space rule. All of these things will be more clear to you when I write code and we perform some hands-on training. But still keep these in mind that there is a white space rule. That means that to intent something, we use a white space instead of these flower brackets or these curly brackets, right? The fourth is versatile usage. That means that basically from small script to large scale application, everywhere you will see Python use. Okay. So that is something like you can use Python anywhere. If you want to build something which is just for your personal use, still you will use Python. Why? Because it is very friendly. And for large scale applications, you will use Python, let's say for AI and ML, because that's the only choice you get at that point of time. And why that's the only choice? Because everyone have figured out that Python is a bridge in between R and C++ languages in that field, and they have contributed a lot in those libraries, and now you cannot switch to other languages. And it gives you a very design and simple language. Now, if some of you have learned other languages or have seen other languages code, the difference between other language and Python is that Python do not have those curly braces or semicolons, right? Python don't have them. They use white space. Also, yeah, that's the same thing, right? Like it's an indentation based blocks where you use white space that forces it to be clean and readable code. And there is a concise features. Again, these features lets you write things like for loop in a single line. How is that done? It will be covered in the sessions, right? There is something known as list comprehensions that makes it makes Python a super efficient language. So it's not just that Python is a language whose design is clean and it's simple to learn language. Python have some functionalities that separates it from others. Things like list comprehensions are one of them. Again, many languages have them, but every language have some things different, right? Like JavaScript have this kind of list comprehension things, but then they don't have the indentation based blocks. So every language have their own choice, and you can do multiple things using multiple programming languages. We are doing with Python because of the reasons mentioned, that AI, ML, and automation, web development, everywhere Python is used. Now, the readability focus, because Python actually resembles with plain English. And that is something rare you will see in a programming language. And that's the best thing about Python. And that was the main thing why Python was created in the first place, to make the design simple. Now, this is how the program looks in Python and Java language. So in Python, you are just checking if x is greater than 0, colon symbol, print positive. Okay. Again, there are a lot of things that you might not know currently, like why is there a colon symbol there? Why is there a white space before the print line? What is this symbol even, like x greater than equal to 0? Can we just write it like this, greater than 0? And in Java language, if you look in Java language, it's similar, right? Like if you know Python, then knowing Java is also simple. And if you know Java, knowing Python is also simple, right? Because the thing is, both are doing the same job. So once you know the algorithm and you have the problem solving skill, switching from one language to other is pretty simple. So if you know how if-else condition work, it's very simple for you to implement that in Python or in Java if you know their respective syntax. Now, here, as you can see, of course, Python is very readable. There is no semicolon in front of every line, right? Like in Java language, you have to put these things. Again, I will not tell you what's the difference between these two, because then I will have to teach you some Java language also. But as you can see, Python is more clear, right? Now, there is a task one. You can also use it as your homework. So try to install Python on your device. Okay. You can do that by downloading it from python.org website. You can go there and you can just download it. And after downloading, there is something step two that everyone kind of misses. Try to add Python to path. What does that mean? It's very easy actually. It's for Windows users, because for other users, it automatically adds to path. Adding to path is going to your computer. You might have looked into environmental variable before. So just clicking on there and adding it to path, right? Now, once you have done these two steps, and it will be, I think, written in the docs of whenever you are trying to download python.org. In initial sessions, even without downloading Python, it will be fine, because we will be using some online uh, tab to run Python. How will that work? I will discuss more about that. But yeah, first, these are the 3 steps to install Python. Try to do them. In next session, you can ask me doubts if you face any issues with downloading Python on your device. Okay. So understanding ways to run Python. So Python, you can run it in 3 ways. Okay. The first and the simple way, or the fundamental way, is there is something known as REPL. That is read, evaluate, print loop. Every software, Python is also software. It is nothing more than just a software. It's just that Python is a software that lets you uh, execute your code by talking to machine. Okay, so you write something in English in Python code, and then Python code, whenever you try to run it, it will go communicate with the computer and it will give you result back. So that's the job of Python software in a way. So once you have installed Python in your device, I hope you can see the screen. Is this visible, what I'm doing now? If any of you can let me know, it would be great.
Yes, it is. It is.
Okay. So if Python is installed on your device, you can just write Python and press enter. And that's it. Now you are in the REPL, Python REPL. Okay. It's a read, evaluate loop. So you can write your Python code here. What can it do? It can do 1 plus 1. That's the fundamental thing. If you run it, it gives you 2. That means that whenever you see these 3 greater than symbols, that's where you write your code. Whatever piece of code you write here, it's going to be evaluated, and then whatever the output is, it will be shown to you. And then you can write your next line. That's how Python works. That's the fundamental thing that comes with Python. Okay. And this is known as Python interpreter. Now, you can try to print something. You can say, what is print 1 plus 1? Right. Again, that's the one way. What's the other way? I hope this way was clear. You just read right. Now, the second way is open a IDE, or not even an IDE, just create a new file and then run that file. So now instead of writing here print 1 plus 1, what if I would like to write something like print 1 first, then print 2, and so on? I would like to print this 10 times. Now, whenever I want to execute it, I don't want to write my code again and again. So instead of that, what we can do is we can create a file. So I will create a file here. Again, you can create a file by go open by, I think, new text, and then inside that you can write this line. It will be same. So I'm creating a new file. Let's name it something like learn Python main.py. And here I can try to write print 1, print 2, and so on. Okay, so I created a file with an extension .py that makes it a Python file. Like for a text file, you have an extension .txt, right? Same like that for Python file, we have extension .py, and now you can save it, and you have that file created. And now if you want to execute that file, you can just say Python learn Python or a name of that file. That's it. If you run that, it will basically take each and every line from that module, that is learn Python main.py file, and then it will run it one by one using the REPL, right? That we have already seen. I hope that makes sense now. So you just have to write Python and then the name of the module. Now, why do we use Visual Studio Code? If I go a little bit back, why do we need Visual Studio Code? Why can't we just do it in text? Why can't I use something like Vim or Notepad to do it, right? The thing is, it will be very hard for us to debug or even to write code. If we want to write faster code and something like autocomplete features where I don't have to write the whole print, or if I'm writing first semicolon, the second one should appear automatically, then we need some code editor, right? Some nice code editor. And that's where Visual Studio Code comes in. So let me create a new folder. Okay, I have to create a new folder. So I will do make a directory, and let's go inside that folder. And I will open that using Visual Studio Code. Again, you can install Visual Studio Code on your device if you want to play around. That's one of the good thing you can do. Just go on browser, search Visual Studio Code. Remember the code after it. Don't just download Visual Studio. There is another application with that name, right? So Visual Studio Code is an application. Again, it's an open source built by Microsoft. So feel free to use it. It's not a startup, or they will not have that many bugs. Now you can create a new file by just tapping here. You can name it something like this is our main.py file. You can give it any name. And now you can say print one. You can see how it gives you a lot of information, and that helps you a lot in writing. And now you can also do nicely Control C, Control V. And you can also change name, like by just pressing Control D, you can select all of them, and then you can replace it with something else, maybe print instead of one, let's say 11 or something, right? And then they also give you this run feature. What does this run will do? It will do the same thing. It will kind of write something like Python space and then the file name. So if you click on the run, it will automatically go to the location where your Python is installed. That's the first thing. And then the second thing is the location of your file. And then it executes each and every line that you have written in the module. I hope that works. Yeah. Now, these are the two ways in which you can run Python. The third way, which is used a lot
Mohit,
by,
sorry to
yeah, go
interrupt.
on.
Looks like there's a question in the chat. You may need to take a look at
Oh,
it.
sure, sure. Okay, I think it was a little bit. Okay, yeah, chats were high. How do we add Visual Studio screen? Sorry, I did not. Uh, it's a little bit hard to understand. Can you please rephrase it? Basically, you have to download Visual Studio Code, right? Yeah, you can try to rephrase it. Or you can also unmute and speak. Yeah, that will make it more interactive, I guess. Whatever suits you. Okay, so meanwhile, I'll explain about Visual Studio Code also. Okay, okay. I'm unable to unmute.
No, I think maybe Mohit, you can show him how to unmute it because he should be able to do it. He has access to unmute it. Do you want to just show
Okay,
which
sure.
icon to click on?
So you can click on here. You can click on this mute. I am unmuted. But I think it is disabled. Can you please check from your side also? Because I think they cannot really unmute. Yeah, now can you try to unmute, Yashwant? I think you'll be able to. You have to just click on this button, right? If you're comfortable, you can unmute and speak, or you can type in the chat. Okay. All right. If it's not working, maybe. Okay, I think it should work now because you are not disabled now. But it's fine. You can maybe something. Oh, no issue. So you can maybe try to text me and text here, and I will also explain the Visual Studio Code again. So first of all, just download the Visual Studio Code, and then you'll basically get this application, right? Visual Studio Code. This will be an application. So whenever you download it, this will pop up, right? And then you have to open that application, and you will see the Visual Studio Code. And there, then it's very easy. Basically, Visual Studio will require you to open via a folder. So you have to then give a folder name that we have given, like Learn Python 1, and then you can open it. Okay, I will read chats if there is something there. Yeah. All right. So yeah, these are the two basic ways in which you can run Python. Still, these are fundamental ways. We need to know them so that we know that how these high level things are happening, right? And that's why now we know how REPL works. We know how Visual Studio Code works, kind of, because it's nothing but running a module. So if I click there, basically create your Python file, name it .py, and it will be automatically taken as Python. So whenever you download it, maybe we can do this hands-on. You can also try to download it, and then there is something known as extension. So you can download a lot of extensions here. Mainly, you should download Python extension so that it can autocomplete all the things related to Python. And it is downloaded by a lot of people, and that tells you like why Python is one of the best language to learn, because you can see how many people have downloaded this uh, Python library or Python extension of Visual Studio Code. It's just a single extension, right? And still, if you look at it, it's like 153 million users have downloaded it. Now, coming back to our code, the third way is Jupyter Notebook. Now, the thing is, sometimes we don't want to locally run things on our device. Why? The reason might be that we want to show that to someone else. So whatever code we have written, at the same time, can we open it on different laptop and run it there too? Can a different person modify the code and then we can also see it in the real time? Can that happen, right? So that's why Python come up with something known as interactive Python. And Jupyter Notebook is one of the applications of interactive Python. Now, what does interactive Python lets you do? So one of the application of Jupyter Notebook is done by Google Research, and they have named it as Colab. So Colab itself let you store a Jupyter Notebook. This is how a Jupyter Notebook looks like. You have a block where you can write your code, and then you can run it. It's as simple as that. But what's the difference between this and REPL? The difference is, in a single code block, you can actually write anything. You can write something like for element in 1, 2, print element. Again, you don't have to know syntax, but yeah, you can write something like this in here. It looks nice and clean. You can press the run button and it will run it. Now what's happening? It's connecting to a cloud server. So whatever you run here, it's not getting run on your computer. It's getting run on a computer which is owned by Google on their server, on their headquarters, right? And what they do is they run it and then they just give you back the response. Okay. And you can also see what machine they are using. So they have provided you a machine which have 12 GB of RAM and 107 GB of space. Okay. This is what Google have provided you and it's for free. You can use it. You can go to Colab website, create these new notebooks, play with it, right? So let's try to write some Python code here. So I can say 1 plus 1. Again, this is the simplest thing we can do. And we can execute it. It shows you 2. We can say print hello world. And it shows you hello world. Why is this so popular? Like, what is special about this thing? When I'm saying print hello world, it just writes hello world. So what's special in it, right? The specialty is that there is a function print. You are giving a computer a command to show me what I have written. So that means the machine is listening to you, right? So that's the first confirmation of a programming language that yes, things are going correct. Like I have built a function print which does its job, shows the output. Okay. Is there any more question? No. Yeah. If anyone have any question from this slide, let me know, or from previous slide. Yeah. Feel free to ask.
Please, so for this class, which one are we going to use? Is it VS Code or IDE Heli?
Yeah. We are going to use Jupyter Notebook.
Okay.
The reason being, it's very easy for you to share it with me. It's very easy for you to code it. You don't need to run anything on your device now. Because if you try to install Visual Studio Code or even Python, you might face some difficulty, right? And that's not the real thing why we are here. We want to learn Python. So let's get started with it. And the easiest way to get started with learning Python is Jupyter Notebook. Just open a Chrome browser. Everyone have browser. Just open a new tab. You can then just like browsing Google, you can browse and run Python code. It's that easy, right? So we can start with Python learning, and these things like downloading Visual Studio Code, Python can be done in our free time, right? Whenever we have free time, we can download them and run them. We will need them in future whenever a code is deployed. It has to be deployed in a file. There has to be a file which will then run 24/7 on a server, right? So at that time, we will be using Visual Studio Code. But in your back of the mind, remember that all of this thing is happening because of the REPL that Python have, like how Python actually runs. If you go more in depth, sometimes you will be using all three of them. Your website is running 24/7. You would like to check, okay, how many clients, or if there is a bug, you can then go to your REPL and connect to that website and get some details out of that. Okay, like what's happening on my website, what's the bug currently. So these things you can do, but initially now we are just going to use simple Jupyter Notebook. So maybe even after the session, I will share a link here, this normal collab link. So every time we create a collab, you will get a link, right? You will get it, I think, from Learn Desire platform. So feel free to create your own REPL, make a copy of it, and try to write something new. Just play with the code, right? That's how you will learn. Just write. Even if you're getting any bug, Python have very limited bugs, and whenever they show error message, nowadays they will also show you a way of correcting your code. Okay. So that is something that you can try. Like 1 minus 10 works, but if I say a minus b, it will give you an error. But you need to get these errors to learn what's wrong with your code, right? Why can you not write a minus b? What's the issue with that? So that is something that we can look in, but yeah, read these errors. They're very limited. I think approx 30 errors are there, and that's it. So once you know how to tackle each of them by just reading this line, you can see what error you had and you can debug it very quickly. All right, once this part is clear, let's start with Colab Notebook. So Colab is a free cloud-based Python environment that lets you write and execute code in your browser. That's it. That's the job of Google Colab, and it's a Jupyter Notebook style. And it's very beginner friendly, but also all professional use Google Colab. Not Google Colab, mainly a Jupyter Notebook style. They can use some other startup, they can use Deep Note or anything else. But a Jupyter Notebook style is used a lot nowadays. Now, no installation is required. You can just open your browser and it will be done. And the next thing is they give you free access to GPUs and TPUs for faster computation. Like here, you can, I think in runtime, you can go and change the runtime and you can select the hardware of T4 GPU, or you can select TPU if you want to do something really fast. Again, they have a business proposition that if you want more speed, then buy our products. But for us, in this course, we are fine with these basic ones, right? We might not even need GPU in this course. So you can easily go to this website, that is just collab.research.google.com, or you can just search Google Colab and you will get it. And you can start exploring it. Now coming to programming language Python, right, in itself. Let's do some hands-on. And before that, if anyone have any question, you can ask, or we can take some break. I think this was break time, right? If I'm not wrong.
Yeah, well, before we go, do you have a link to the, Jupyter notebook so that we can download it?
You don't have to download it. That's the main
Oh,
thing. It will just open on your browser, right?
okay.
And for that, you will need a link to actually see it, right? So all of these collab, I can share with you. Maybe I can download it, or I can create a link and then give you guys the link and you can open it. But yeah, I will do that after the session. We can find a way. I can either download it and give you, or I can save a link. Okay. Now, you can also create your own Jupyter notebook. It's very easy. I'll recommend you guys to do. I will share this link on chat maybe. It's a normal collab link. If you go there, they will show you some notebook, but you can just go on top and create a new notebook in your drive. It's linked with your Google account, right? Because it's by Google itself. Uh, so maybe where can I put it?
Okay.
Yeah, this is a link. It's a collab link. You can go there, you can create your own collab, right? And that's it. So now, any more question? Or we can take a break now, like I think 5-minute break was needed, right? So, Chandran,
Yeah, I think so it's 11:06 now. So maybe let's take a 10 minutes and we can join back at let's say 11:15.
sure.
Okay, perfect. Well, we'll resume at 11:15 then. Hi. So just wanted to do a time check. So, are we back here? Are we resuming the class? Mohit, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I think we should resume now.
Sure. Let me share my screen. All right. All right. So this is hands-on. That is, you can open Google Colab. I have, I think, shared link in chat. I hope you both are also connected now. I hope all of us are connected. Be good if you can unmute or write it in chat. Okay, someone have written. Yes, okay, great. So Yashwant is back. Okay. So yeah, create the notebook. Just write one cell. You can say hello Google Colab and save your notebook. And when you save, basically it saves to your Google Drive. There is a folder. I think Google Colab will be created, and inside that folder you will see all of the notebooks that you have written so far. And you can go back to your previous notebook and edit them, like you have used Google Document, right? So for text file, instead of now going and writing text in Notepad, many people just use Google Document directly. The same way we are using Google Colab for Python. Okay, I hope that's clear. Now let's do some hands-on here. So this is the first time we are going to write code.
Please, before
Yeah.
we continue, I was trying to open that link now. Can I share my screen? Because I'm not seeing anything related to open your notebook. Yeah.
Okay. Chandran, are we allowed to do that?
Okay, let me do that. So I think in case if you're stuck with anything, yeah, let me make him presenter so you can, Olusen, you can share your screen. Just give me a minute.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, you want to try share your screen, Olusen?
Okay. Thank you. This is the collab. Are you seeing my screen? This is the
Yeah, we can
collab
say it.
that the
Yeah,
link
that's
that
great
I had
actually. Yeah.
click on. Then the
Then
second
there is a file
option.
button, right? On left top, there is a button file. So when you click on that, you can create a new notebook, right? Right now, whenever you open this Collab notebook, they will just give you a beginner notebook there. So what you see right now in itself is a notebook. You can create a new one which will be empty.
Okay.
So here basically Google is promoting their Gemini API and all of them that they've created right just recently. So this is just a marketing, but yeah, you can open a new notebook in Drive and a new notebook will be created. And then you can name this notebook again. This might require sign in and you can do it and you will get the notebook, right?
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I can share my screen. Okay. I hope that was clear for everyone now, right? Like this, what you will see. Again, initially it might be overwhelming to see all of that, but just create a new notebook and you will be good. Then in that Google Notebook, you can do two things. You can write text or code. So you can also say, I want to write text. And that's where something, if you know what is markdown or like just writing triple hash for heading or just a single hash for a big heading, heading one, heading 2 and heading 3. This is how you can make headings, and then in every heading you can write something like this is code, and then you can kind of nicely collapse and also magnify them, right? Now I'll just say heading 1, which is basically the first code that we are writing. So I'll just say first code. This is very basic. So every language in itself is nothing but data reading and then manipulating. Okay, analyzing the data, updating and modifying it. That's the only thing a programming language can do at the end of the day. Like, yes, programming language allows us to communicate with our device, but what can our device do? It can only manipulate zeros and ones, right? But that zeros and ones basically can do everything, because if you write a key in your keyboard, it can trigger some memory which can also trigger the execution of some pixel showing on your monitor, right? So all of these things are, you are placing something on a memory part which triggers something else, right? So just by changing these uh, data, you can do a lot of things. Now let's start with the first thing, that is, how can you store data in Python? Let's assume we have the data. Now, how to store it in Python? To storing a data, we only have a single way of doing it, that is a variable. You have to create kind of like a block will be created in your memory, which will have a label. Uh, Label it as anything you like. Let's label it as A. So a block with a label, and it can store a value. So the value it stores right now, let's say, is 10. Okay. And then it will also have a memory address, but right now let's not worry about that. Let's just say that there is a label A and it stores the value 10 in it. Now, how can you write in that in programming language? So in programming language, you will just say it like A equal to 10. So when you do that, what happens? Equal to is an assignment operator. Your variable, your value, that is 10, is stored inside a variable A. Okay, it's assigned to A. That's the main goal. Okay. If that is clear to you, that means now we know how to store things in a variable, how to store things in Python. We know how to store a number. What if I give you something else? What are the type of data we can actually store in Python? We can store employee ID, which is again an integer. We can store someone's marks, like 45.5, let's say, which is a decimal number. We can also store something like an employee name. We can just say Tom, right? So these were numbers. So either we can store some numbers, or we can store some kind of string, which is combination of characters, right? So it can be a Tom, or it can be any combination of characters, any word that you know, right? Or it can be just a Boolean. Boolean is something like true or false. That's it. That will look later. But why do we need to differentiate them, right? In Python, numbers can be stored in two ways. Either it will be an integer, or it will be a float. Why do we need these two ways to store a number? So the thing is, for each and every data type, there are different methods that we can implement on it. There is a different way to tackle each of them. You can perform operation of plus. You can perform this plus on two integers like 101 plus 102. If you perform this operation, then this acts as an addition of two number, which we know it is 203. So the plus symbol here performs as addition. But if I do the same thing on, let's say, a Tom plus, let's say, Jerry, okay? Now this plus symbol will perform something else. The output will look like this. So we are doing something completely different. So here the plus symbol acts as a concatenation. Okay, we are just merging both of them one after another. And that's why we need to separate these data types, so that for each and every data type, we can write how should our operations behave on them. And why do we need to do that? Why do we need to separate them? Because then if we don't, it won't make any sense. Like the addition of Tom and Jerry is nothing else. You cannot add two alphabets. Or if you try to do it, it might encode it and it will give you some gibberish word, right? Which does not even make sense. So to make sense out of it and to tackle them nicely, we have different uh, triggers on different operation, different ways of implementing them. Now, once we know like why do we need data type, we have these data types, that is integer, which in short form in Python is int, which is nothing but integer. I hope you guys are familiar with integers. Now, after that, we have decimal numbers. 45.5. It's a decimal number, right? Then why do we call it as float? Does anyone know that? You can try to write it in chat. Like, why are decimal numbers not called decimal in programming language? Right? Why are we saying floating point? So I can maybe just take a quick look at chat. Okay, it's fine because you guys are new to programming language. So the thing is, computer cannot store a real number precisely, right? So we need to give an estimate. Like do you know what is pi? Like if I just say pi, like area of circle is pi, I think 2 pi. Let me take a circumference 2 pi r. So do you know this symbol pi? Are you familiar with it? You can write it in chat or just give me a heads up. I hope you are familiar with irrational numbers. If not, we can take a different example. Okay, yeah. If you're familiar with root, let's take example of root 2. What is we know that square root of 4 is 2, but what is square root of 2? Now that is something that does not stop, right? Like there is an estimate that you can take, but it won't stop. And the precision level to which your computer is storing that number is the floating point of that number, right? Basically, you have just taken the approximation and not the complete number. And even if a number is like 1, still you cannot store it. There has to be some precision to that number. So that's why we call them floating points. The difference between floating points, which is in Python known as just float, the difference between int and float is that float understands what decimal is. That's it, nothing else. Okay. So if you see a decimal, it cannot be integer because integer do not know that. Why is that? Like for computer, it will be hard that in one place you are writing Tom and in other place you are writing 100. How does computer know which one is integer and which one is string? Right? For computer, both of them, like maybe 100 might sound like a binary number. I will write 123. How does computer differentiate it? Why is 123 an integer and Tom is a string? Right? How is that differentiate? So what computer do is computer will check each and every character. Here, every character should be part of, every digit should be one of these. Okay. I think this is clear to you, right? Like, okay, I can just see it like it's an integer. It's an integer because every digit uses one of these number. And if you count them, these are 10 numbers, right? And that's why our system is known as base 10. Because we have 10 numbers that we can put in a single digit. Okay, because we don't know what will come after 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, but what after 9? So after 9, we go back to 1, 0. Right, so we don't know after 9 what's the next symbol. There is no symbol in base 10, right? And that's the reason why here if you print, let's say 1, 0, 2, of course, it will say it's a integer. You can also check type of, let me start from the very basic, that is a equal to 102, 101, okay? And then we can print what is a. So what does print do? Print goes to that label, it checks the value and it shows you, okay? It just shows you that it's 101. All right. Now, what if I would like to check the type of it? So you can print what's the type of A. And it says it's of data type integer. Okay. Now, coming back, we can print A. Now, what if you'd like to print, oh, let me just come back here. What if you want to initialize two things, right? What happens if I put the same thing on the block? What happens if I say A equal to 10 and in the next line I say A equal to 20? What happens then? Then basically it will overwrite it because you have a same box, right? You have same box where you have something like A equal to 10. That means the label of it is A and it stores the value 10 in it. And then in the next line, when you say A equal to 20, what does that do? That will just take the value 20. It will place it in the box. Instead of 10, it will make it 20. And then A will store the value 20, right? Like now I can here do something like A equal to 102. I can print what is A and it gives me the value 102. That's how you can modify integer. Now there are some different types of operations that you can perform on integer, but let's see the different types of operations you can do on integer. That is, I think this will be very basic. So I will go a little bit fast there. That what are the operations that you can perform on integer? I think this is plain mathematics, so I can directly write it here. Let's take variable x and y, 10 and 20. I will print x minus y. Maybe start with addition. So these are the things that you can directly do in Python: x minus y, x plus y. These are also known as arithmetic operator. Okay, minus plus, divide, multiply. All right. Now if I do that, it will give me the output. One thing you can try to notice here is that when you do x divided by y, if your x is 20 and your y is 10, still your output is a float. It's not integer. So always remember that Python design is that when you divide two numbers, it will always be a floating point. It will not be integer. Even if it is 2, why is it not integer? Because it is 2.0. This point, this dot, integer don't understand. So if you see anytime any dot in it, it's not part of base 10. Your base 10 is 0 to 9 only. Now that's great. Now we know the arithmetic operations. There are few more operations that you might like, and those operations are,
Excuse me.
yeah, sure.
Wait. So you said 2.0 will
Yeah.
not be regarded as a float.
It will be regarded as a float.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because 2.0 have point in it. Because
Okay.
it has this point, it will be regarded as float. And this point is not base 10, right? And that's why it goes to float. Makes sense? This point is something extra that float knows. So for this number to be float, it should have a point, and then it should have base 10 on both the sides. Okay, base 10 number. I hope you know base 10 now, right? I hope that's clear.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, great. So yeah, just if something like this is written, that's a float. Okay, base 10 dot base 10. Yeah, the other three operations is that helps us a lot, those arithmetic operations. One is exponent, right? If you want to make it power, let's say you want to write something like 2 raised power 3. Okay, so how you do that? So 2 raised power 3 is 8. In Python, you cannot write 3 above 2. So for that reason, we write it like 2 double asterisk 3. Why we chose double asterisk? Because if you look, what is a multiplication? Multiplication is nothing but multiple addition, right? Like if someone writes something like 2 multiplied by 3, what they really means is that 2 plus 2 plus 2 3 times. Right? Kind of like 3 times do the multiple addition. Same like that, when someone says 2 power 3, or I'll use 2 power 3, this just means that do multiple multiplication. So 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 2 3 times. Okay. Uh, so here we can write like 2 double asterisk 3 and we will get 8. Same way, there is something known as, okay, if I divide x by y, what if I just want to know this front part? That means I just want to know the integer part of it, right? I want to know floating, I want to know the float of, let's say, 10 divided by 2. So you are doing 10 divided by 2. Whatever the output is, output is 5, that's great. But what if I do 10 divided by 3? The real output will be something like 3.33, right? Something like this. But what if I just want the 3? Like, what is the number? What is the integer which is the greatest integer less than the number? So the greatest integer less than 3.33 is 3. Makes sense? That the greatest integer is 3. Now, again, this makes sense, but what if I say like the number is minus 1.9? Now, what is the output? What is the greatest integer which is less than this number? You can put your answers in chat. So we have to find the greatest integer which is less than minus 1.9. Yeah, integers also have negative numbers, right? Integers is collection of negative numbers, 0 and positive numbers. And we want to find the greatest integer which is less than minus 1.9. Okay. So a number which is like the biggest number, biggest integer, but that should be smaller than minus 1.9 is minus 2. Why? The reason is because if you look at your number line in a vertical format, you will see that minus 1.9 will come above minus 2, right? And in between minus 1 and minus 2, right? You will see minus 1.9 in between minus 1 and minus 2, right? And that's why if you do that, what is the floor of this number? The floor of minus 1.9 is basically minus 2. And the ceiling of it is minus 1. Okay. These things will be useful in our future sessions. That's why I'm going a little bit in depth here. Because otherwise I can just say that, okay, take whatever is in front of decimal and that will be your number. But in case of negative numbers, that's not correct, right? Then they will give you a different formula of saying like use minus whatever the number is minus 1. Instead of that, just learn this concept. It will be very easy. So when you look at the negative number, the smallest number or the greatest number which is smaller than this number is actually minus 2. I hope this makes sense. If this makes sense, we can then come to our part, which is taking the floor. So what I meant when I said that take a number which is greatest but smaller than this number minus 1.9 is taking floor of a number. So I can say what is the floor of 10 or minus 1.9 is nothing but minus 2, because minus 2 is smaller than this number, but still the biggest integer out there which is smaller than this number. All right, once we know the concept of floor, basically we have 10 double divided by 2, which just means, or let's just say 10 divided by 3, which just means take floor of 10 divided by 3. What is floor of 10 divided by 3? 10 divided by 3 is nothing but 3 point something, 3.33. And if you take floor of it, you will get the value 3. Makes sense? And that's the operation we have, 10 double divided by 3. If you run it, you will get 3. If you run the same thing, maybe let's try to get minus 1.9 somehow, right? Okay, negative number, getting a negative number will be hard. So there is some library. Again, you don't have to learn the syntax right now, but you can try to take floor of minus 1.9 like this. And that's the beauty of Python, that by just writing this 2 line, you are solving some complex problem. You don't have to write them from scratch now. You don't have to write, okay, how can I find a biggest number which is smaller than minus 1.9, right? Like you don't have to do that. So again, forget about this part, but remember the floor part, right? The floor calculation, because it will be used here. Now, okay, once we know these two, let's look at what if I just want to check the remainder, right? So the remainder you can find, again, in mathematics, we write things in a very nice format. Like if I have to speak, I can just say, okay, when you divide 10 by 3, what is the remainder, right? But now, when you do that, uh, you have to write this thing again and again. So instead of that, mathematics has come up with a symbol known as mod. So you just say 10 mod 3. Okay. So 10 mod 3 in itself means that, okay, when you divide 10 by 3, what's the remainder? And that in Python is represented by percentage symbol. So when you write here 10 percentage 3 and press enter, it just gives you the remainder. Okay. And this is very useful. By just writing this 1 line, we can find remainder. Now, one question that we can think about or try solving is, how do you know if a number is even or odd, right? So you can check if a number is even or odd by just checking what's the remainder when you divide it by 2. So it's very simple. Take any number. Okay. Just give me a second. Let me share my screen again. All right. So why remainder is important? If you want to check if a number is even or not, you can just do that by saying, like, whatever your number is, let's say 10, just take, again, I think it's using AI. I can disable it, but for now, let's have it. So num is 10. Now we can say num modulo 2. Now, whatever the output is, let me try to print it. Now, if the output is 0, we know the number is even. But if the output is 1, let's say whenever you write 11, it says 1. Right, so it's the easiest way to check if a number is even or odd. Okay. Now, we want to make this as a software where if a person writes something, we tell them if this is even or odd. How can we do that? So there are two things that we will look into today. That is how we can write print nicely. How can we print things nicely instead of just throwing 1 here? How can we do that? And the other thing that we can try to look into is input, but I'm not sure if we will be able to complete it. So well, let's just look at print for now. We can look at different ways of printing. how can we print things? How can we print multiple things in a single line, right? So print 11, print equal to 11 is print num modulo 2. That's fine. What if I have different variables? What if I have a name of a person, let's say Tom, and I know maybe their skill is Python. Now, what we can do is we can try to print something like, okay, we are sending a letter to a person that Tom, are you skilled in Python? Or Tom, do you know Python? So how can you do that? Either you can just write Tom, or do you know Python, right? Question mark maybe. So how can we make it in such a way that we don't need to change this line at all? So one way of doing it will be to print multiple things. What do I mean by printing multiple things? You can actually print 1, 2, Tom, and it will print 1, and then it will print 2, then it will print 3. By just separate them by comma, right? Now here, instead of printing Tom, I can just say print whatever the name is. So instead of 1, print name, and then the second thing we'll print is, do you know Python, right? Do you know part. And the third thing that we'll print is the skill that the person is required to know. And then maybe there is something else that is question mark. Okay, when you run it, it's basically kind of similar like Tom, do you know Python? But is there a better way? So the better way will be, now here the thing is, the specific thing that is Tom, do you know Python? You cannot kind of change it. It's like a template that will be given to you. You cannot fit in the variable, and you cannot like do things like this. So that's why we have something known as formatted string, where you can create a formatted string where you can say, instead of Tom, I will put name, then I'll basically copy paste the same thing. Now in formatted string, instead of writing Tom, we can use the flower brackets and put things inside it, and whatever you put inside will be evaluated first. So you can say name here. Now whatever the name variable contains, it will be evaluated, and then it will be attached to that string. Now instead of Python, again I can have a flower bracket, I can say skill. We are getting this functionality of flower bracket because of the symbol F in front of our string. That's why these are known as F strings. Okay, now if I run it, I get the exact thing. Tom, do you know Python? I hope this makes sense. Okay. So this is formatted string. This is the normal way in which we can try to do by printing multiple items at once. And there are other ways, but I think this is fine for now. Let's also try to look at why are we getting these spaces here. Right, like why can't I just say Python and then there is no gap between question mark? Can I do something like that, right? Without using formatted string. So for that, Python has something at the end that you can add. That is separator equal to space. So if you don't mention it, by default, the separator will be space. So if I say that print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, by default, the separator in between 1 and 2 is just a space. And you can change it. You can make it to, let's say, this is my underscore. Now Python will print these objects and it will separate them by underscore. Okay, and you can go to your next line and then print like 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then again you can say, okay, separate them by underscore. All right, but then why is that my first print is in one line and my second print is in another line, right? There is a new line in between. So in Python, if you want to put a new line, let's say print hello world. What if I want to put world below hello? If you want to go to new line, if you want to press that enter key, in Python, you can do that by pressing \n. It's common in all the languages. You use \n to go to new line. Okay. The same thing is happening here because every print also have something known as AND parameter, where here by default it's \n. Again, don't worry about it's very complicated, like how is this created? Like how can I just say sep equal to this and these things happen? For now, you can just see that as these are the features of print. When we look into how functions are written and when we create our own functions, our own print functions, then it will be very helpful for you. Right now, the print function's only job is to take the input and show it onto the output screen, but your code can actually show it to some McDonald's screen like this burger is now waiting or this burger is prepared. Take it. You can do any modification there. Your print will not be printing on terminal, but it will be printing somewhere else, right? So it's still you are printing, but it's just that your screens might change. So knowing this is actually useful, and that's why we are giving a lot of time in learning print and different ways of printing. Now, once we know that, okay, by default, the gap between the first print and the second print will be \n, and that means a new line. Can I change that? Yes, you can. Just instead of \n, I'll change it in new line so that after the session you can just go through it, right? You will have this material, copy this code, try to manipulate each and every line, try to see what if I do something else, what happens, what error do I get? And if you're unable to understand it, in next session, just show your code and we can try to debug it. Now, coming back here, instead of \n, we can write something like comma. Now what will happen? Basically, there is a first line, then there is a comma at the end of the first print, and then there is again the second print where the separator is underscore. Okay, so these are like the different ways in which we can manipulate our print and we can print things nicely. If you have any doubt, you can ask. I think I don't want to actually start a new topic here. This is enough as in for the first session because we have looked at the brief of Python. If you have any question from here, feel free to answer, right? Feel free to ask. Or if you are feeling I'm going slow or fast, let me know, right? Because I have to, yeah, because I can change my speed accordingly. Do you feel I'm going fast or uh, what's my speed? Any feedback? Or is it okay? I should just continue this way. Yeah.
Please, Mohit, do you have any class notes?
Class notes, I can share this code block with you, right? Just look at this code block and try to understand why I'm writing these things, right? Like this specific semicolon. Okay. Again, we have just covered these print lines. Moving forward, we will have more content and we will, I think, provide you some exercise sheet that will have problems that you can also solve. Apart from that, if you need notes, I will look into it. We can do something about the material so that you have enough material you can go through after session. Yeah. Sure. I'll provide sheets and there will be some questions. Yeah, you can work on them. Currently, I know that there might be something repetitive or some things I was focusing more on because those things will come back again and again, right? Things like variable, how do you store data in a variable? The thing is when the list or some multi-value data type will come in, then the storing will be different. At that time, we'll be looking at the same image, right? So I just wanted the diagram to be in your head that there is a block which have a label, it stores a value. There will be an unique address attached to it. But that's how a variable looks like. Yeah. Okay. How we clear screen, Google Colab. Again, the first thing is I will be sharing this link. You will see all of these. I will download it, or somehow I will share a link. What you have to do is, if I have downloaded it, you just have to do something like upload a notebook or open a notebook, and then you can, whatever the downloaded is, you can put it here and the whole notebook will appear. Or if I have a link, you can actually open it and you will see all of this, okay? Line by line, try to edit it. I will say before editing, because you might not have editing rights to that notebook if it's a link. So just make a copy of it. So there'll be an easy option of just copying a notebook, right? So you can copy it. So that's something you can try to do, right? Copy it, get the code, and then you can just run it. Yeah. For the first time when you run it, it will take a little bit extra time. So when you run it, it will take extra time. How do you open this Colab notebook? That can be done. I think I've shared the link with you. You can go to this link and you can create your own Colab notebook. Okay. I hope that clears your doubt, Yashwan. How we clear I'm sorry, can you rephrase it? Like how do you mean by like clearing Google Colab screen? Like
Okay, maybe
we
my understanding
don't
that is
have to
to
actually.
empty it.
Yeah, go on.
How to empty the page, right?
Yeah, we don't have to empty the page, right? That's the beauty of Colab. That we should not be able to delete the things that we have written. Again, to empty it, of course you can do it. There will be ways in which we can empty it. But the thing is, you have written notes in your notebook, right? You don't really want to delete it, but you can maybe bulk it, and then after that you can just click on the delete button and everything will be gone. Right. There will be ways like clear select cells and then just delete selected cells. But generally Colab is something where we don't really delete all the cells. You just create new Colab. I hope that answers. We don't generally clear things on Colab. Yeah. Yeah. That is it. I think if you have doubt, feel free to ask. Otherwise, I think we can close the session.
Okay, so just the final thing, Mohit, if you can just share this the notebook and also the links for the VS Code and also the Python. I understand this is all public, but if you can just put it in that links, whatever we discussed in today's call, just share it with the team so that they will be able to try it on their own side. And if any questions, they can come back.
Great. Sure. I'll share all the links with you guys and you can try it. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So I think if no other questions, probably we can end this session today. And Yashwant, maybe if you can check out your side to see why your microphone is not working. Looks like you have some issue with the audio at your device. Maybe you can check on that. But otherwise, if any assistance required from our side, please let us know. We can also help you with that. Otherwise, I think thanks for attending the class today, and thanks, Mohit. Thanks, everyone, and we can connect in the next class.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, thanks, everyone. Bye.